timing is definitely of the essence for the learning experiences and sessions that we're talking about here. The CIE sessions have two versions. There's a 6-hour version and a 3-hour version. From a logistical standpoint, we know that this can pose some challenges. And we're still working on some regional recommendations and some national recommendations and guidelines for how to plan your timing of these learning experiences. We think that there's just probably a lot of pros and cons to weigh out on a regional level. And so today later on we're going to get to a whole hour of working time, and that would be a great time, if it's appropriate for your region, to start thinking about how are we going to problem solve about this so that we are prepared to step up our game in round 0 and make these learning experiences really powerful for our core members. So timing in particular is something that you might want to spend some time thinking about, given the discussion that we've had here. All right, yes?
Yeah, it's a very quick clarification question. Sure. So the way I understand this session, if core members have data from their first unit, it's actually the kickoff to round 1 because it's a group kind of it's like it's an introduction to the framework of problem solving, but it's also then the first actual experience of co-investigating with that data that then EDs can follow up with. So it's a seamless transition between round 0 and round 1.
Yes.
Is that correct? Or is it an introduction to the framework with maybe like a guided practice not based in their classroom and then round 1?
I actually think that's a great question. I actually think you could do both. Yeah. And ideally, a core member comes to us with their data from their first unit exam. It's an excellent time for them to actually use that data in a meaningful way, and it does help seamlessly transition to round 1. There are probably some circumstances where our core members may not have that at that point, or for whatever reason, it's not in hand. The session also guides them through, or takes them through some guided practice with how to do this. So they could do it even if they could go through the learning experience and take away a lot of the key objectives, even if the data wasn't their own. So I think that is definitely something to consider. Again, to the timing point, it may serve a slightly different purpose depending on where our core members are, what space they're in when this comes around.
Okay, the session is designed to have them do it with their own data, so that's already okay.
So I just have two questions. One is, are the CIE sessions similar to 1 and 2, similar to last year? Have there been major changes made to them, or should we expect essentially the same sessions?
They're very similar to last year.
Okay. They're very different from 2 years ago.
Okay.
But if anybody remembers, yes,
okay.
they're very similar to last year.
And the other one is just like, in terms of, this is like a technical question, but it's coming up in my mind about like when we should expect to be able to access some of the sessions. So for example, in my calendar, I don't think I was thinking about revisiting big goals as broken up into small groups or those kinds of things, which seem important in our planning. So I'm just wondering what to expect from that.
All of the sessions will be on the Round 0 Resource Hub by the time we leave on Friday.
Okay.
Most of them are up now. But the revisiting your big goal is the only change that we've made to the scope and sequence from the original scope and sequence that's on there. There's already an overview document up there that explains the changes. So you'll be able to access not just the high-level scope and sequence that's been up for a while, but now all the session plans and PowerPoints are up, or will be up by Friday.
It's hot in here. I don't know if it's because we're like under the gun and this is stressful. It's just legitimately hot, but I see Scott feeling himself too. Okay. All right, these are all great questions. We are getting our hands dirty in our Round 0 planning, thinking about what we want from our core members and the best ways to maximize our plan so we can get to this ideal path, thinking through all the pitfalls that may come up. Let me set you up for this 45 minutes of practice time.
It's going to be about
30 minutes of practice time. I'm looking at this table and I don't see it, so I hope it's somewhere. You all should have a handout. Oh, there we go. Handouts on your table. So it should say handout 1. All right, so this is what you're going to do. On handout 1, you have a couple of different core member pitfalls that you are going to think through. You can do this as a whole group at your table, or you can do this in pairs, whatever works for you. And you're going to have 45 minutes to do this. And this is a very structured way for you to practice how to take some of the information that we've talked about here and think through why these pitfalls happen, and from a core member perspective, and then what kind of adjustments or plans might you want to keep in mind. Okay, so you have 30 minutes. Go ahead and get started.
I have an idea, y'all.